We are going to discuss not just how the French influenced the vocabulary of English language, but also how it influenced the grammar, pronunciation, and many other aspects. Hello and welcome back to Nibble Pop. In our today's class, we are going to see how the French influence shaped the evolution of English language, just like the Scandinavian influence. We have discussed the Scandinavian influence in detail in our video. The link is given in the description box. If you haven't watched the other videos of the philology series, you can find the links in the description box. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, what are you waiting for? Your subscription will really support us and encourage us to make more videos for you. Stay with me till the end of this video, because we are going to discuss not just how the French influenced the vocabulary of English language, but also how it influenced the grammar, pronunciation, and many other aspects. We will know why and when the influence started and how it took its course through history. Normandy, which was a district in the northern coast of France, was originally inhabited by the Northmen or the Norsemen. William of Normandy, he attacked England in 1066, and this Norman conquest is considered to be the starting point of French influence on English language. Now, when we were studying about Scandinavian influence, we have seen basically Scandinavians and the English, they belong to the same linguistic family. But when it came to French, then this family was different. Strangely, these Norsemen who were the inhabitants of Normandy, they were originally Scandinavians, but because this particular tribe had a very good adaptability, they began to infuse in their language the French language elements. Therefore, when finally 1066 came and they attacked England, by that time their language was completely transformed. Therefore, this particular conquest is regarded as the starting point of French influence. Now, for the next 200 years, the high society of England, people who interacted with the ruling class, they were more prone to this influence. They were more influenced by the French language, and therefore mostly words belonging to their world, their lifestyle, were adopted from French. We will look at the impact on English vocabulary category wise, and then through those examples we will understand the extent of French influence on English language. So let's go to the first category. All words related to government, politics, and administration were borrowed from the French. Now let me give you a few examples. Words like crown, state, government, reign, realm, sovereign, power, minister, council, authority, parliament, people, nation, all these words were French in origin. So you see, the words which you so freely use now, they actually belong to a different family of language altogether. The words king and queen, they were retained, which means they were English words which were not changed. But otherwise, most other administrative words were taken up bodily from the French language. Very closely related to governance is the concept of feudalism. Now, what is feudalism? Feudalism is a system where the whole state or the governance is divided into sectors, creating a hierarchy where one person is in charge of his subordinates, and this way the administration goes on. Terms related to feudalism along with this concept of feudalism was taken up from French. So I will also give you this whole list, you can see alongside. So these words show that the French government imposed upon the English people their rules, and not just their rules but also the names associated with these ruling classes. Very closely related to administration is the army. So we have a host of military words adopted, words like war, peace, battle, siege, army, navy, officer, lieutenant, soldier. All these words, these were taken up from the French. So while I will go on giving you examples, you will begin to realize that most of the words which you use now, thinking that they are English words, really have different roots. In this case, French roots. The legal system, which goes hand in hand with the administration, also adopted new words. While I was talking about Scandinavians, I said how the Scandinavian law terms were replaced by French terms. So we have words like judge, jury, justice, and many other words which belong to this category of legal terms that were bodily adopted from French. The church, an important institution in England, not just in England, in many of the European states, was also under the influence of the French. We have terms like angel, mercy, miracle, pray, sermon, all these words taken up from the French vocabulary. So the church, the government, the army, everything is seen to have been influenced by the French language. So far as governance is concerned, a government does not always rule its people through posts and positions. It also commands the minds of the people through moral ideas. So moral ideas also began to have French names such as grace, cruel, chaste, covet, desire, jealous, pity, discipline, mercy. So all these words which were originally French began to infiltrate into the English vocabulary, and these words were not directly related to governance or the state, but indirectly related to how people were governed or ruled by the ruling class. Now, while I am talking about ruling class and the ruled, we also see that they interacted on a regular basis, because the ruling class or the high class of people did not live in isolation. They constantly interacted with the people who belong to the lower strata of society. And here we see a power equation, and how that power equation is reflected is very interesting. The words like sir, madam, mistress, all these words which refer to a person of a higher power or position, they are taken up from the French vocabulary. Along with it, you have words like obey, rich, poor, riches, poverty, money, interest, cash, rent. So all these words which mean that there was some kind of an interaction, economic or social interaction between the ruling class and the ruled class, those words were also taken up from the French vocabulary. So I have tried to give you a comprehensive list of all these words in an article which is given in the description box. In that article, you will have category-wise lists of words which were adopted from the French vocabulary. So here I am just giving you an overview so that you understand the conditions in which these words were adopted. So what other categories were there? Words denoting family relationship. Now this is very interesting, because usually people do not change the way they call their parents or grandparents or uncle or aunt. But when a class of people constantly rule you for hundreds of years, then you begin to imitate their lifestyle. You have these ideas in our case also, because in India, the words like mummy, daddy, papa, all these words are not Indian words, but they are very commonly used by common people even now. So you see how family relationships also get affected, or the names of family relationships also get affected by foreign influences. In case of the French, you have words like uncle, aunt, nephew, niece. So all these words, they are French in origin. Father and mother, they are like, they did not change those words, but other words were being introduced one by one. Now, one of the most important things that happened observably in those days is that, just like I was saying, the relationship between the ruler class and the ruled class is reflected through the words used. Now, the people belonging to poorer sections of the society, the English people, because they were the defeated group in this case, they were given the responsibility of looking after the animals, alright, rearing sheep, taking care of cows. So these animals were called by English names, cow, sheep, deer. But the people who consumed these animals as food, they gave French names to these cooked animals. Therefore, while cow was known as a cow while it was living, when it was served as dinner to a rich person, it was called beef. Similarly, you have parallel words like goat, sheep, and mutton. You have parallel words like pig and pork or ham. So this shows the economic relationship between the two cultures, where the French were evidently the ruling class of people because they were enjoying the fruits or the benefits, while the Englishmen, they struggled and toiled on the fields or in the forests. Again, so far as food is concerned, the word breakfast is an English word and it's a very humble word. You simply break your fast in the morning and you eat something. So that had an English name. But when you say dinner, supper, it had an air of grandeur about it. So that was where the French started to put in their names. So dinner, supper, these are all French words. Following the same logic, all the fun stuff of life, enjoyment of life, these were clearly the domain of the French because they were the ruling class. So all these names of entertainment which you have, such as joy, pleasure, ease, comfort, delight, flowers, fruits, all these words belong to the French, while the toiling, suffering Englishmen had no such words for them because they hardly had any pleasures left. Similarly, we have names of games and sports like card, dice, chess, all these coming from the French vocabulary. If you are aware of fashion trends, you would know that even now the French are considered to be the most professional or the most accomplished so far as fashion is concerned. So we have words like fashion, garment, all these also coming in from this sector to the English vocabulary. Very closely related to fashion and garments is the world of art, architecture. So we also have similar influences here. We have words like art, beauty, color, image, and specific words like pillar, tower, vault. So all these words related to art, architecture, style, design, all these words were adopted from the French vocabulary. Interestingly, there are some professions where the artisans, they were more humble, or the professions were not that elite. Mostly service type, such as baker, miller, smith, shepherd. So all these names were English. These were not French words because these professions were taken up by people who did not have any special skill, so to say, and these served the basic necessity of all kinds of people. So they did not just serve the high class people. They also served the local people, common people. So these professions retained their English names. But when it came to tailor, carpenter, all these professions were used by people belonging to higher classes who had money. Therefore, these professions started to have French names. Now, when a language begins to influence another language, usually it starts with concrete words, like I said. Then it becomes more assimilated and connects to the emotions of the people. Words which are exclamatory in nature, such as alas, adieu, all these words have French origins. We also have everyday expressions beginning to crop up, such as air, age, beast, change, cheer, cover. So all these words which otherwise look very ordinary and belonging to ordinary life, they also started to be adopted from the French vocabulary. Now, why were these words adopted? Because some category of people belonging to the English nobility and sometimes to the middle class, they started to show a snobbish tendency. What is the snobbish tendency? That if you use words belonging to the French vocabulary, then you are high class people. This tendency is very evident even in modern context. If a person is speaking in their native language, such as Bengali or Hindi, and suddenly he or she deliberately uses an English word, feeling that this will make me look very sophisticated, that is snobbery. Because it is not like you cannot use foreign words, but using foreign words just to show that you know them is pointless. It is very fine if you use one or few words at times, but just to make it a habit to show that you're a rich person, you're an accomplished person, an educated person, is kind of stupidity, I think, from a linguistic point of view, because you are harming your own language. So this is what was happening there. That is why you're using words like air, which is a very common object. You don't have to use a foreign word for it. You have been using your English word. God knows what that English word was, because it has completely died away, because they were using this word air now, which had French origin. So this brings us to the notion of using French words as parallel words also. And we will now focus on how French words were assimilated into the English vocabulary, because they were not from the same family. So it was not easy to simply pick a French word and use in your sentence like it was with the Scandinavians. So what was happening? What were they doing with the French words before they were assimilated or absorbed in the strata of English language? First is, sometimes the words were similar. So through resemblance, this was happening. In Old English, for example, the word rich meant powerful. And in French, R-I-C-H-E meant wealthy. So there was some connection, because usually the wealthy are powerful and the powerful are wealthy. Because these words sounded similar, therefore this word R-I-C-H-E was adopted, started to be pronounced as R-I-C-H, rich, and started to mean something which it means in French, which is a wealthy man. So this is how similar words or similar sounding words evolved when taken up from the French vocabulary. There are many such examples where this assimilation was going on, and it will be tiring for you to listen to all of them listed here. So I've listed them in that article. You can easily go there and see all the words which were assimilated because they were similar sounding. Sometimes the assimilation happened through synonyms. It was a tendency observed to use French words synonymous to existing English words parallelly. Therefore, what happened is, these words, both of them survived, and that has given rise to so many synonyms in English. I doubt there are any languages in this world which have so many synonyms. You just type any word in Google and you just look for synonyms. You'll see they are numerous for almost every word in English. So this rich variety of synonyms is reached because of this parallel use of French words along with English words. Again, I have given a very comprehensive list. You can go through them at your free time. Let us just shift to the part where we are going to talk about how French words started to change the accent of English people. Now, there are certain differences in pronunciation which you find in case of French words which are not seen in case of English words. For example, you are familiar with the word finale. Usually when a season of a series ends or a competition ends, we say it is the finale. But what we mean, it is final, right? The last part. So in French, you pronounce it as a long I, finale. Alright. And when you adopt that word into English, you pronounce it as final. See, you are still using I. You are not saying F-A-I, but you are pronouncing that I as A-I. So this is how the pronunciation is different, as you can see. Many such other examples are there. Speaking of accent, usually words in French language which had accents on the last syllable and they were borrowed into English vocabulary, they started to be accented on the first syllable. How? For example, the word punish. We accent it or we stress on the first syllable, pa. But it was not so when it was in the French vocabulary. Now, why was this happening? Remember, we were discussing about value stressing when we were talking about stress shift. If you have missed that video, please go to that link. It is going up there in that I button. In that value stressing process, we have seen that it is a psychological impetus to force oneself on the very first syllable. So, usually the Englishmen, they end up stressing the first syllable unless and until there is some code word or root word interfering with this system. So in the word punish, because you do not have any root word as such, so you are putting accent on the first syllable itself. Similarly, you have words like finish. In fact, final. Because when you say final, where you stress on the F-I. But when you say finale, then you see you are automatically not stressing on the first syllable. So this is how syllables were stressed in English on the first syllable itself when they were borrowed from French. While in French, they were not stressed on the first syllable. With this, we come to the last and very important concept of hybridism, which is very, very closely related to French influence in English. Probably we will have a detailed study of hybridism later sometime. But for now, let me explain to you what hybridism is. Hybrid is a word which has more than one component, where one component is from one language and another component is from another language. This means that here you are joining two kinds of words or more than two kinds of words to form a new word. A few examples again. Look at the word overpower. The word over is English, native. The word power is French. So when you combine these two words, you are not using an entirely French word, but you are using a hybrid. So this process of combining two or more roots or two or more words from different languages is called hybridism. This is seen in case of many words formed after the French influence, and this continued through Latin influence and later American influence, Indian influences too. Different kinds of hybrids are formed where you have suffixes from the native language and words from the foreign language. Sometimes the suffixes or prefixes are from the foreign language and words are from the native language. So these permutations and combinations go on, and you have a huge list of words which I have added to the vocabulary and the strength of English language. Now I will finish today by talking about two kinds of French loan words which were adopted in English. One which were adopted just after the Norman conquest, and some words were adopted recently, like in the 18th century, 17th century. The difference is in pronunciation. For example, when a word contains CH, any French word which contains CH, and it's pronounced as ch, you can be sure that it is an older French borrowing. But when you pronounce it as sh, then you will be sure that this is a later French borrowing. For example, when you look at the word change, change, you're pronouncing it with ch as ch, then it is an early borrowing. But when you are using a word like champagne or champagne, then it is visibly a later borrowing because you are pronouncing ch as sh. Similarly, you have words like chauffeur, okay, the French word for driver. Chauffeur is a later borrowing, and these belong to very elite society in general, and these were visibly borrowed much later, not during or after the Norman conquest at all. Now, interestingly, when it came to names of people, the name Charles, you are pronouncing it as Ch, so it is an older borrowing. But when you have the feminine of Charles, that is Charlotte, see, you are using it as Sh. And you know about Charlotte Bronte. When was she born? Like, she was not, of course, during the Norman conquest days. She was born much later. And during those times, CH came to be pronounced as Charlotte. Okay. So we have French influence continuing. So it is not just confined to the time in and around the Norman conquest, but it continued through centuries and is still affecting the way common people use certain English words and pronounce certain English words. Because now that I hear people pronouncing tour as tour or final as final, you understand that these changes are still happening. So linguistic changes are a continuous ongoing process. They do not confine themselves to one particular age, mostly when you have these interactions going on later too. Linguistic changes, loan words, they do serve as milestones, but they are not watertight compartments. You have this intermingling of different elements or different languages overlapping each other, and at the end of it, we have this variegated, wonderful body of language which we call English, which is hardly English. So with this, I guess we have come to the end of our discussion on French influence. We will be continuing with our discussion on philology in our next class on Latin influence and how different kinds of words were shaped and evolved because of the influence of the classical language. I hope I can get back to you very soon again. Till then, stay happy, stay subscribed. Bye-bye.